It's the Raw Meat Podcast, the most mediocre wrestling podcast on the internet. With the smart Greg Adams, the nature boy Jay Whatley, and the hardcore icon Puff.
This is the Raw Meat Podcast. It's Greg Adams with Puff across the desk and looking for the piece to his belt that he has lost.
Yes, wait, his
is
belt.
still
yes.
his belt, and still.
Although we
champion.
should strip him for breaking it.
Jay Whatley,
I found the diamond.
the nature boy Jay Whatley, finding his diamond for his belt.
The W is complete.
Because I didn't even think about that until now. He's going to claim this as like his now because Whatley and the W on the belt. This is
Why
gonna
wouldn't
be,
I, guys?
All right.
Huh?
well,
I'm unbeatable. I literally am unbeatable. I told you guys that I didn't even want to put the belts up for grabs for SummerSlam because I knew the results to all of the matches in the first place.
Well, I have the proof here. You didn't know the
Well,
results to
there
all
was
the
a couple
matches,
of them
but
here and there.
After SummerSlam last night, we do have a retaining champion with a final score of me with only. Well, actually, this math is going to be bad.
Yeah.
Let's just say you won by one.
Yeah, I won by one.
'cause we
but I won
eliminated-
decisively.
We eliminated the matches where like we all agreed on or we all missed any of those. So when it came down to it and the matches that actually mattered, Jay beat Puff by one.
And it was all because of that damn Brock Lesnar match.
Yeah,
Well-
because actually and not just that one, because a tie would go to the champ.
Well,
So-
I have a tiebreaker in my pocket
Not to use against me. Sorry.
to use against
I don't
anyone.
think you have that in your pocket.
I
wish we would have tied so we could have had that argument on the podcast today. 'Cause
You're an idiot.
Well, I
Well,
ain't giving this belt up.
We would have had to go to a 2-3 vote.
Well, I mean, we
Which
all know
means you
how that would
lose.
have went.
2 out of 3 vote. That's what I mean.
The real
Anyways,
issue is you two jabronis picking Apollo Crews and Enzo and Cass. What were y'all thinking, man?
well, let's go through that right now. The
Gosh.
matches that actually decided our picks. Enzo and Cass versus Jericho or whatever you want to call it. Jay picked Jericho and Kevin Owens to win, and they did. Then
Awesome match, by the way.
Intercontinental Championship match between The Miz and Apollo Crews. Puff and I felt the Apollo Crews push was going to continue. You picked The Miz for whatever reason, and, well, The Miz won.
Well, the only reason I thought he was going to win is because he needs a personality.
Yeah, he needs a personality or something, and if you're going to give him something, why not just use the belt? The other match that played into the final results was the Women's Championship between Charlotte and Sasha Banks. Puff takes Charlotte. And then the Universal Championship match.
Oh, by the way, just while we're talking about Charlotte, fun little factoid, 11-0 in pay-per-views.
I will never pick against her again under any circumstance.
That's solo, right?
Yeah, solo.
Okay.
Well, actually, after last night, it would be 12-0.
All right, and the other match that I lost a point on, but you guys both gained, was the Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor Universal Championship match. You guys both taking Finn Balor. I took
poor
Seth
bastard.
Rollins. So I guess we can work our way to the blood. Let's
Oh,
start.
man.
Well, let's get the big thing out of the way, which isn't Brock Lesnar. Last night we
think I
saw.
disagree.
Okay, hold on. Before you even say it, I like this idea. One big thing to start. One big thing from last night. What was your one big thing?
The AJ Styles Cena match. That was match of the year. We possibly saw the end of Cena's full-time professional wrestling career.
Yeah, because
But I mean, even if taking that away, it was still an amazing match, worked by two. I mean, I didn't think as far as Cena's career goes, he would ever top the CM Punk match at, what was it, Money in the Bank? The match where CM Punk won and left.
But I was going to say that was a match not because John Cena made it a match. That was a match because of all the other stuff in the CM Punk stuff.
Oh yeah, the storyline for that was a little bit better than this. But the point is, it was, if you look at the match itself, it was still like top-notch match, and last night just went far and beyond.
I was
going
to say, I will argue that last night was better because the reason the story was so good in that CM Punk John Cena match was the stuff that led to before it. You had to know that if CM Punk wins, he's leaving with the belt. So watching that match on its own from bell ring to 1, 2, 3, I don't know that would even be in the same ballpark of last night, because last night was a pure technical wrestling, edge of your seat. You didn't know what was going to happen.
Well, they're both 5-star matches.
Yeah,
There's no
okay.
doubt about that. And no matter how you look at it, last night, I felt bad for every match that came after it. I mean, seriously, like the Seth Rollins, I had to go back and watch some of the matches this morning because I was just like emotionally, and I was done after AJ and Cena, and like everything just seemed terrible afterwards. Like,
I want to talk more about that one in a little bit. What was your one big thing?
Yeah, of course, we're going to talk more about this later on, and I agree with everything you just said, Puff, in that was a great match of the year for sure, but it's not what everyone's talking about today. And the fact of the matter is, you've got a man needing 10 staples, going out, and now you have the whole world, people that don't even care about wrestling, arguing on if that was a shoot or if that was a work. And that's what they wanted in the first place. So mission accomplished. But the fact of the matter is, everyone is talking about that, something that in the grand scheme of things really meant nothing, you know?
Right.
It didn't mean
contextually, storyline doesn't mean anything.
Right. But everyone is talking about that and the confusion behind that, which is, I think, exactly why they ended it the way they did.
And I'm sure we'll talk about this too. Is we're gonna find out a lot more tonight of how that will play into a storyline and where we go from here.
Yeah, and that is almost, it can be tailor-made into my one big thing that I saw last night. And my one big thing is almost what we didn't see. My one big thing we saw is the treatment of the WWE Heavyweight Champion, the treatment of the SmackDown brand, the treatment of Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler being placed a distance away from the main event.
Thank God.
They were, but I mean, the match was not worked well because I think that you can't get excited as performers for this kind of match.
I've seen Dolph Ziggler sell on a friggin' just the worst play on main event as the first match out the gate. That was just a horrible match. I've never seen a match that poor from either of those guys.
The treatment and what they did in that match was saved only by the John Cena match and the Brock Lesnar Randy Orton match, because wrestling is best when you don't know what's going to happen, when the unexpected takes place. When we sit here and make predictions, and if we nail a pay-per-view 100%, it was a bad pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to go into it and know what was going to happen. And we actually had quite a bit where, I mean, I lined them out because we just knew right away what was going to happen. Now, did we know that the Roman Reigns-Rusev U.S. Championship match was going to never even start? No, we didn't. And
so
you know
let's do the full match on Raw. And do no match at all on the pay-per-view. That, I know, once again, we'll talk about this later, but that was just stupid.
But what we saw with Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler was just a continuation of what we could have scripted that match. Almost start to finish, we knew everything that was going to take place. And you have a match that is that poorly done by two guys who deserve better, placed at that spot in the card.
Which also, that belt, just 3-4 weeks ago was the only belt that mattered.
And now this red thing is Big Red is gonna matter.
Big Red.
Coin that, Big Red. That's the name of the new belt. So to have that take place in such a contrived, already know what's gonna happen kind of way, and if they followed up with immediately putting AJ into that title picture, then we called the whole thing last week, and you can go back to listen to it. We said the whole thing, how that was gonna work. So the placement of that in there and the way they did it, I think that's a complete disrespect.
Well, if you want to earn respect, you got to go out there and get it. And last night, I was a big fan of Ambrose. All right, this is his chance. Let's see what he's got. And last night, I saw nothing out of the guy. I hope they do give it to AJ or someone here, in the next pay-per-view or two, because if that's the way he's going to work,
yeah,
he doesn't deserve it.
Well, I'm also not one to toot my own horn as, a 2-month champion, but I think I've said on every single podcast that Dean Ambrose has a horrific wrestling style, one that a WWE champion, it degrades that title having him do it, because I don't think he's that good.
See, I like Dean.
I like him as an intercontinental guy.
But it seems like he has to have something, unless someone's pushing him to be better, like his feud with Kevin Owens. Unless there's someone in there pushing him, he wants to talk about Brock Lesnar being lazy. Last night he was lazy.
Well, I would like to know a little bit of the dirt sheet behind the scenes locker room stuff, because maybe those two guys just don't like each other, and maybe they went out and put on a match as two guys who didn't.
Well, I mean, Shawn Michaels hated guys that he had to work with. But somehow he found the way to
In some cases, do I need to go pull up that Hulk Hogan match?
Well, that match would have been terrible because of Hulk Hogan. But the fact he went out there and actually sold everything and had some fun, at least he gave the audience something.
Yeah.
Neither of those guys gave us anything last night.
All right, so I think that's enough actually to talk about the Dean Ambrose. I mean, that was one of the big things, but that's enough out of that match because they didn't give us enough to talk anymore about. So let's start. I will just throw this out there, and we'll see if this is low enough for you guys to think to talk about right away. The Miz and Apollo Crews IC. Did anybody show you anything last night that warrants us talking about any further?
Well, I think we just all, win or lose. I think the more the Miz wrestles like that and holds that belt, I mean, people are giving him the respect that I think we all agree on that he's earned and deserved. But at the same time, it was just a place setting match. It felt like
it was a solid match, but it wasn't anything spectacular. It wasn't anything.
But the Miz
great.
he is solid in the ring.
Well, yeah,
he
see,
doesn't make many mistakes, and he's a great heel.
We talk about this all the time. The Miz is good in the ring. He's not great, but he's good. His skills lie on the mic. So when you can make a match. The great thing about him is no matter who you throw in that title picture, he at least makes it interesting up to the actual match.
Let's be brutally honest about two people for a second. Ric Flair, one of the greatest of all time, was not a great in-ring performer.
He had his moments, but overall...
Okay, let me amend that. He was not a great in-ring technical wrestler. He was a great in-ring performer because what he brought to a match wasn't the actual moveset. It wasn't the actual overpowering of anybody or doing anything great.
People, if he didn't flip over the top rope, people would leave pissed off.
If he didn't do the Flair flop, if he didn't hit the chops, like everything
on his knees begging not to get a hit, and then the ref comes in and he pokes him in the eye.
Everything that he did not take a tremendous skill set physically, which is like The Miz. He wins in a heel style, even up to his finisher. His finisher essentially has to catch somebody off guard to hit it. Like, it's not something where you overpower them. It's not an F5. It's not anything like that. It is straight up catching somebody off guard, slamming their face into the ring, and covering them.
Well, and I think the good thing about The Miz is after all these years, he's finally starting to get some of the finer points of in-ring storytelling, like, the Ric Flair stuff, rolling out, holding on to the ropes, all that, like, stuff he wasn't doing before when he was in the heavyweight championship picture. He finally got through his head, like a light bulb went off, and he's finally starting to get it, which is awesome because I love watching him on TV.
I think Apollo Creed is good too. I think he's
Cruz.
I think Apollo Creed is great.
I see what he's doing. I knew it right away.
I think he's good. I just think they got to build him up a little more before he's taken serious.
He has no personality.
Right.
He's a smile with a lot of. He's Neville.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
He and Neville actually would probably
he's
be.
Blevel.
What would be? Don't do that. He would be great, and this would be awesome if maybe they put those two guys in a tag team together.
Well, it sounds like Neville and Sami Zayn might be a long-term tag team.
That would be great too. Like that's what
last night they were tagged on the pre-show, and they had like one of those backstage WWE.com exclusive where they're like, "Yeah, we had a good night. Maybe we'll keep doing this." Which, if Jericho and Owens stay together.
Yeah, there you go. You could find a way to extend that rivalry, but in a different way. I like it. I want to go to Enzo and Cass for a second versus Jericho and Kevin Owens because I want to say something that it kind of hurts me to say. I'm starting to slide back on the Enzo and Cass bandwagon.
Really?
Yeah. Here's why. Enzo is fantastic on the mic. Cass is one-dimensional. And Cass still seems uncomfortable. And it's cute. It's fun. In ring, I don't feel it. I think there's a reason why they never held the NXT tag team titles. They're selling a lot of merch right now. They're doing a lot of nice promo work. But I think that in the ring, they're subpar. I think Dash and Dawson, the Revival, are probably better in ring than those guys are. And last night, I saw Jericho and Kevin Owens being Jericho and Kevin Owens, and I almost feel like I saw them carry that match.
I don't disagree with it. I think the thing that makes Enzo and Cass interesting to watch in the ring is their dual moves where Cass slings them around, which gets old after a while if there's nothing else.
Well, even the rocket launcher off the top rope where Cass kind of tries to slam Enzo down, it really doesn't. it's not that exciting. It's like an alley-oop on a Fisher-Price My First Basketball hoop.
Well,
it
it's
really
like,
doesn't.
when he picks him up like a baby and tosses him
That
off
one's
the top.
actually kind of cool. That should be like the finisher.
Well, they do that a couple of, in big matches, and there's some other stuff they do. So I'm not completely off of them because, as far as tag teams on Raw go, they're still, top 3.
Well, maybe we need to see them with the belts, and maybe we need to see what they do as condescending talk down to everybody.
Well, what I would like to see is them get into a rivalry with someone with some experience. Because, it's the old thing. The better people you work with, the better you get.
You picked Jericho KO.
Darn right I did.
Like, are you anti Enzo and Cass already? Or?
No, not at all. I just thought I really only picked them because I know that neither have had a real big pay-per-view win, and I just thought that it made sense. At that moment.
That Jericho hasn't had a big pay-per-view win?
I mean, like, especially Kevin Owens. I mean, that's really what that came down to, is that Kevin Owens has got the bad end of every stick he's been dealt lately, and you guys are still so far up his butt, you're freaking
Well, I was going to say,
toes are brown.
like Kevin Owens beat Cena on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, but how long ago was that? People have forgotten about that.
To be honest, I don't think he's won since, let's see.
He's lost so much.
Since right before the pay-per-view, before he lost the Intercontinental title to Dean Ambrose, I don't think.
That might be true, but I mean, like...
I think I just thought, and once again, I picked him correctly, so get off my butt a little bit.
Right.
But I thought that Enzo and Cass winning would hurt Jericho and Kevin Owens pretty bad. I thought them winning gives them more credibility to continue being, just ruthless villains.
All right, let's stay in the tag
Fair
teams.
enough.
New Day, Club.
I didn't think Big E was going to show up. That was a surprise to me.
I don't enjoy... What?
No, I just say I can't believe he drank the juice.
Yeah, that was
awesome. What do you think was that juice? Had to be what?
It was probably Gatorade or something.
Oh, that was awesome. I love that.
To me, think that if you're going to use someone like Jon Stewart, you got to do it. I mean, we heard his name once, I think, before SummerSlam. We never saw him on TV, I don't believe, until SummerSlam. If you're gonna roll that guy out and do that, do something bigger, do something better, do something that takes longer, at least build more of a story. Like I felt like he was more of a distraction to what we should have seen.
Well, I think what they did was they were trying to use him as a buffer because they knew, this AJ Cena match, which was on directly before that, was just going to kill it. So, hey, we'll send the comedian out there. He'll tell some jokes, get the crowd to lighten up a little bit, and then we'll get into the match, which didn't work. The crowd turned on him big time.
Yeah, I think that if you would have done better, like last year's, the build into the turn on Cena was way better than what they did this year. And I think that detracted from what should have been a good match. And I don't understand the vision right now as I wear a New Day shirt, and I'm all in. I don't know that I know the vision for him anymore. I don't know what, the climb to the top of the mountain being goofy and then being goofy, haha, funny for a long time. Like now, still where's the payoff?
I got a feeling since this club rivalry is going to continue after last night, that's going down for sure. So I got a feeling maybe they go back to being heels after the club takes the belts off of them. I don't know.
Well, I don't think they can do that. I don't think they can go heel.
Sure they can.
Why? And then fight with another heel group for a belt? Because if they lose the belt, they're not just going to be out of the picture.
Well, they probably will be for a while. I really do think that at the point that they do drop the belts, we're going to see them go away for at least a couple of weeks.
What if they drop them tonight on Raw?
Actually,
that's not out of the question.
Probability.
They're known for doing big stuff, bigger most times than the pay-per-view itself.
And we should actually pay attention to how they handle tonight, because the Raw after Mania is usually more surprise-laden and impactful than Mania itself. Mania is usually just a payoff to the build. We don't see a lot of contextual surprises. We see the one-off surprises at Mania.
Surely you guys remember the biggest surprise in WWE history last year on the Raw after SummerSlam. I'm sure you remember.
I don't recall.
Yeah, you do.
Who came up?
Did they bring
remember?
Tatanka back?
No, it was something to do with a statue and a replace of a statue. And
I'm not ringing a bell. Stang?
Stang.
Stang?
Yeah, he's a great singer.
But we could
Somebody's showing up tonight.
We could see something, and it might be the people that we thought were going to be last night.
Which was the same thing that happened last year at SummerSlam.
So
everyone was so disappointed. The next night, everything they hoped for, they got.
But it's not just tonight because it's going to be Tuesday as well.
And not to jump onto the NXT train, but what happened with Bayley sure as hell looked like a curtain call to me.
It was 100% a curtain call.
Yeah.
It was, you put the other 3-4 horsewomen around the ring, even separating the faces from heels, and then you do the curtain call that way, and then she hugs her mom, and then she gives the love to that was a curtain call.
Yeah. But the question is, do we see her tonight or do we see her tomorrow?
And based on, and I don't have this one on the sheet, but we can talk a little bit about the Divas tag match with the reveal of the return of Nikki Bella. And there's not much to talk about it other than
the fact they're killing it with Eva Marie, even in her absence.
Yes, there's that too. Okay, and the third thing I guess we should talk about was Becky Lynch's leotard thong.
Yeah, I was hoping her pants were going to pop off at some point.
Was that
I just wanted to see if that was a shirt, a thong, a unitard. What the hell was it?
I think it maybe in honor of Lita. I don't know, but it was distracting from the match is what it was.
No kidding. Well, there was like Team Booty versus Team Booty. Last night there was nothing but asses bouncing.
So that's all that we really have to touch on that match. The women's championship match, you guys had plenty to talk about earlier today.
It was a brutal match.
Mm-hmm.
So Sasha drops the belt to Charlotte. Charlotte is now 2 out of 3 people who has held the women's championship. Who is next if we do see the extended period from Sasha going away? Were there anybody that
Why not Bayley?
Bayley comes.
I like the
Why not,
Bayley
you know?
idea.
Why not have Charlotte come out and cut a no one can touch me promo, Sasha's hurt, and then have the hugging music hit?
Well, they just released the Monday night teases. I'm trying to find it.
They always seem to. We seem to.
But Sasha Banks is on there, is scheduled to appear tonight so far.
Perhaps this is one where you have her show up like over the top, sell in a neck brace, and she's.
I don't think it would be over the top if you watch the match. Holy mother of God!
So you have her show up and do the I'm injured beyond belief, and maybe you have. We know that Sasha and Bayley have a history, so maybe this is where Sasha comes out and starts getting a beat down from the hands of Charlotte. Or, well, okay, let me finish this idea. You have the beat down at the hands of Charlotte, and then Bayley interrupts, and Bayley
comes for the save.
Bayley comes in for the save.
That'd be great.
Or we are going to see a transition as they try to let the women's division settle a little bit and try to plug holes where they need to be. And you see someone like Dana Brooke come
Let's
back
not forget
out.
about Nia Jax.
Nia Jax is floating out there too,
Raw.
but I don't think we're to that point yet. I think you could, and maybe we build Nia Jax a little bit more, and we use Dana Brooke as a 1 to 2 pay-per-view. Hey, I was your protege. I was learning from you. You kicked me off to the side. I'm going to come beat you down. And we see just a couple of Dana Brooke losses at pay-per-views.
They got several different avenues they can go down here. Which I when women's wrestling is done right, I really enjoy it. Even with the one big botch last night during the women's match that almost killed Sasha, I still enjoyed it because it takes balls when you get busted up like that to just say, let's keep going, baby. So, I mean, when it's done right, it's good. And I think Raw definitely has the superior women's talent. So if you're going to...
Well, I think they said last night afterwards that Nikki's going to SmackDown, and then who was... there was somebody that was... I'm trying to think who's in my head that maybe was coming from NXT besides Bayley. There's somebody still floating out there that I can't think of. But if they can get a couple more divas onto SmackDown, if you lose Sasha from Raw and have to replace it, maybe that's where Bayley goes. But I think that they're close to having those women's divisions ready to roll out, and it could be...
And we don't know how hurt Sasha is. If she's gone for a month, she can come out and cut promos and be ready to go for the rematch. So, I either way, they are in a really good spot, and I can't wait to see where they go with the women's division on both shows because it's been interesting to say the least.
Running along the list, let's talk about a match that wasn't a match. Roman Reigns and Rusev.
I hated the placement. I loved everything else about it.
It's exactly how I feel.
I liked it, but you guys just didn't want to see a real match. I mean,
It works
You know?
great for.
it's SummerSlam, man.
No.
It's not Battleground. This ain't no
This-
bullcrap pay-per-view.
It works better for the Roman character because the one time that everyone can agree after you saw the Shield, after the Shield went away, the one time that Roman was over more than ever was after TLC when he took a chair to Triple H, and you even heard Triple H yelling, hit me again, because Triple H knew how to build that character right. And what you saw last night was exactly how to build that character right. So
I would have loved to. I would have actually loved to see that on Raw and a full match on SummerSlam.
but depending on where the story goes now, is Rusev hurt to the point where he gives up? We keep talking about they're going to take some time for a honeymoon or something. We thought he'd drop.
Well,
the
they're
belt.
getting their what is it? They're doing another wedding in September or something in Bulgaria.
Well, what if Rusev is kayfabe injured and he drops the belt and we have to see a U.S. championship tournament of some
I
kind?
like that.
That would be awesome. I love these tournaments. I love when they put them together, and I think it serves Roman Reigns better to go and win something like that than to just be stuck in another rivalry where he's going to lose 2 out of 3 and take the belt at the end. So if you take a lot of the names that you already have on Raw and put them into that, and it gives some guys some shine, like maybe Apollo
But
Crews.
would you like to watch a tournament if you already know who's going to win the tournament?
But we don't know, because
Yeah.
even if you put Roman in there right now with the way he's treated, we don't know for a fact he's going to win it.
Everybody thought he was going to beat Finn Balor
Not
and be
me.
Shut up while grown
Said
people talk.
everyone. I mean, that's
But I think that was
100%
I think it was done right. I think the only thing that wasn't done right about it was the placement on the card.
Yep.
And if you would have done that earlier,
That might have been a great buffer instead of running John Stewart out.
Yep.
Put it in between that AJ and AJ match and whatever else came up afterwards.
let's talk about the AJ match because it is a contender for match of the year. I will say right now that the only thing that comes to mind match of the year better than that is Sami Zayn Nakamura.
Yeah.
That match may be better, but somebody, as we were looking online, and we have a lot of people that we communicate with and we talk and we share a lot of thoughts during the pay-per-views, whether it's through Facebook or text messages or AOL chat. I still use ICQ, still using that.
Wow, what a shame.
But if that would have gone a little bit differently, if they would have done the false finishes and ended it 5 minutes before it ended, it probably would be talked about right now as a terrible match. But the false finishes and the kick out at 2 made it to a point in the match where you didn't know what was going to happen. I felt confident as all hell going into that match that AJ was going to win that. And as he's kicking out at 2, and as Super Cena's kicking out at 2, it got to the point after an AA, after a calf crusher, after an STF.
All sorts of crazy new moves. That's like, holy when did Cena learn how to do that?
After all of that, I got to the point where I no longer knew. I felt that was the biggest lock of the night, that AJ was going to win that. And I got to the point in that match where I didn't know if they were going to let AJ win or not.
By the way, during that match, Cena ruined Nikki's new finisher. He pulled it out on AJ. I realized that while watching back this morning.
I didn't even
He
put that
hit him with
together.
that shoulder fireman's carry into the stunner, which is her.
I didn't even put that together, but I guess that is hilarious if they're both going to use the same finish. But that's what Brie and
well, we're assuming that John Cena is going to wrestle another match in his career.
Well, that
we,
is.
we didn't get to that part yet, but let's go ahead and jump right into the symbolic
Possible match of the year, possible moment of the year.
pulling off the Never Give Up, looking at reading Never Give Up, pulling that one off intentionally, placing it in the middle of the ring, looking at it, looking at the camera, looking at the crowd, waving,
And then crying.
tears in the eyes as he walks up.
Yeah.
Like there's
something at work. We might not have seen the end of John Cena,
Telling
but
you
we
guys.
definitely have seen the end of the Cena era in WWE.
We're all off. I'm telling you, it's a massive heel turn. He says, this gimmick is not working for me anymore. It's a heel turn, bro. Yes.
you keep barking up that tree.
Yes.
You keep doing that.
I'm the champ, though, so it gives everything I say credence.
You keep doing you. We'll keep living in the real world. So
Just because you get lucky 2 pay-per-views in a
Crying.
row.
Look at it. I mean, that's why he was crying. He's like, I've devoted my life to being this good guy. Now I have to be a bad guy.
Well, we know he's going away for at least a little while. He's got to go film a TV show. So we're going to see a send-off in the next week or 2. Then after that, like...
Who knows?
What happens? Does he...
Don't see him till WrestleMania?
Maybe.
Undertaker comes out and gives a retirement speech?
That's another thing we need to talk about, just off to the side. Taker is usually gray all year round, except when he's about to show up. Guess who's got black hair right now?
I don't know, though.
Well, I did. I saw the picture you're referring to where he was in a bar with Shane and somebody was snapping some pics. And yeah, the hair was dyed, but physically he didn't look the same as he did before he came back from Mania.
He was also wearing an oversized shirt, so
we probably see, and this is, we probably see him one more time. I think this is going to be the last WrestleMania we see him.
See, I think we don't even see him at WrestleMania. I think he goes out or Survivor Series.
No
Ends where
way.
he finishes.
He's got to do one more Mania match.
Does he?
I think he does.
What if he shows up at Survivor Series to give a whole retirement spill, and then you have Cena come out and says, you know what? Let's go.
That's actually what I was going to suggest.
more.
Is that you probably do have
not even a promo match though, like not even like a back and forth, more respect kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying I don't think if that match happens, I don't think you see the two cutting promos on each other and going in on each other.
Oh no, I think you do.
You really?
I think you
just
do.
see Cena's character just coming out and saying, "You've done so much. It would be an honor to wrestle you."
I would love, and this is all hypothetical. This is if I were on that writing staff. This is what my pitch would be. You see Taker come out not as Undertaker. You see Undertaker come out in a more stripped down, normal guy, no big hat. Come out and say, thank you guys for everything. This is where my career started, and tonight I want to talk about how my career is going to end. I want to do all this. And start talking about how I am the greatest. I am not only the greatest of the Attitude Era, I am the greatest of the PG era. I am the greatest of every era since I've carried this company for the last 30 years. I have done everything. I am the man. I am the icon. There's no one that can touch me.
Well, let's be easy on that word.
And as he is cutting that promo,
there's only one icon.
Then the music hits. Then the Cena music hits. And we have that face off of it starts with respect. It starts with, hey, you killed it in the Attitude Era. You were so good. You were an inspiration to many. You were the leader. You were everything. But you gave up on us at a certain point. And you stopped caring, and you stopped being the guy, and you stopped being the flag bearer, and I had to take over. So if anyone's going to get the credit for that, it's got to be me. And you see that start, and you see them go toe-to-toe, and you see that carry all the way into Mania and that final match.
It'd be a great final match.
I would love that.
It's a great second match if Sting doesn't happen.
Sting is a dead man.
Well, no, Taker's a dead man. Sting's a crippled man.
Easy.
All right. Let's look at Rollins and Finn Balor Universal Championship.
Another match I felt horrible for.
Well,
watching last night when I was watching it, I was still just like nothing could compare to AJ versus Cena. So I got a night of separation and went back and watched it, and the match was a lot better than I initially thought it was. The thing that pissed me off most about that match was the crowd.
Yeah.
You have two guys, though, that the crowd supposedly loves so much.
Now,
and they hijacked that match, man.
Let me be the guy who steps in to say the people in the ring and the people who are booking the show, it is their job to control the crowd. And not control the crowd in the sense of like security controlling the crowd. They are the ones telling the story, and they are the ones who are in command of the attention span of that audience. And we have seen it time and time again, the guys who are in the ring, who can do it, who can hold that audience in the palm of their hand. The setup and the way that they did this match, if we would have seen that belt 2 weeks ago, if they would have pulled Big Red out of the bag 2 weeks ago on Raw, and we would have had that moment then, and they would have controlled that crowd by allowing the crowd to get it out of their system 2 weeks ago, then when they reveal that, you don't have a Hall of Famer who's lovable like Mick Foley get booed for revealing a brand new belt.
Look, the thing about the belt is it's not that horrible. We lived through the friggin' John Cena Edge spinner belts, which were the most hideous goddamn things I've ever seen in my life.
But it's not just the way that the belt looks. There are two other things at play here. The name of the belt is stupid. It's 100% stupid. Then the fact that you have in your possession as a company, a belt that has the prestige, the look, everything that is as valuable as that big gold belt is.
Yeah.
A snap of your fingers and you pull that bad boy out. And you can even create a whole Ric Flair angle where you give him the love and the rub and all of the, you bring him back, you make him more valuable again to the company, because when he left, it was in kind of a weird Sasha or Charlotte telling off. It kind of feels weird still. You bring him back, give him an opportunity to present the belt, have the whole thing, and instead you provide Big Red.
Yeah. Also, though, flip side, I saw this online and it was a good point. Can you name a belt in recent memory that you liked when they revealed it?
I think everybody loved the white strap that came back on the IC belt, and I think everybody loves the design of the U.S. Championship.
Yeah, but I mean, both of those.
Okay, how about this? Women's Championship belt. Everyone loved it.
Right.
It's a beautiful design, and it's a fantastic
I think their love
belt.
for that, though, came from the belt before that was so bad. That was a hideous belt.
Probably.
And it
but
has more to do with the name than the actual belt. But I think Seth Rollins made the point. Even if you don't like the actual belt, you should cheer for the performers who are fighting for the belt. Which is, when you have two of the best performers in the world, going after it in a great match, you shouldn't be there, ooh, this belt's up. Shut up and watch the goddamn match.
No, and that to me is where it's on the bookers to figure that out and make that solid, because they know they have plenty of time. They announced the name of it, and when they announced the name, what did they get? Booze and ridicule, because Universal Championship is stupid sounding. Then you have the...
I don't even have a problem with the name.
I do.
I don't have much of an issue. I don't have an issue like Greg has an issue.
I have an issue with it because you're going from United States to Intercontinental to World to now you're just skipping to Universe. Like, this idea that you're this grandiose scale that you're saying this is the best wrestler in the universe, like, that's just a stupid concept.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't.
I agree.
It doesn't make sense in any story. Like,
have you ever seen the wrestlers on Mars, bro? They don't play games.
What are you gonna do?
over
Have
there.
Stardust show up and say, "I'm the best in the universe," and like take the belt? Is that what we're gonna get?
God, I hope so. I actually kind of like that.
That's the only angle that a universal belt makes sense. I'm surprised. This is probably something that Stardust pitched 6 months ago, and this is probably how they're.
That's funny.
He shouldn't have quit.
That's what Vince is. This is all a big Vince grudge. That's all this is. Universal. It sounds stupid. It looks stupid, and they revealed it at the wrong time. They did a disservice to those two guys in the ring by doing that right before. There's nobody that should have known that when they pull that cloth back and show that belt, that everyone's going to be just happy and thrilled.
That belt could have looked like anything, and that crowd last night would have had the same reaction.
Not at all. Not at all.
I'm telling you, they could have pulled out anything. Because the belt's not that bad.
If they would have pulled that curtain back, they would have pulled that sheet off, and it was a big gold belt, and even if they called it the Universal Championship,
people would have still found a way to
You think
bitch
they would have
about
booed
that.
the big gold belt,
I
bro?
think they would have booed anything
No
last
way.
night.
No way. What about the broken skull belt?
They probably would have booed.
No
if Stone
chance.
Cold
Kidding me?
came out there and they would have booed his ass. That was just a horrible crowd.
No, that was a smart crowd, and that's
Full of
why they paid for
dickheads.
it. If they would have done that in Tulsa or Omaha, then everyone would have cheered it.
That belt looks damn good with Finn's paint, though.
Everything except for that word universal on it looks fine.
This guy. Let's move on before I really get angry.
Are we on the blood now, baby?
We're on to blood. We're on to
We're
Brock
on the blood?
Lesnar,
There's
Randy
Some
Orton.
blood in here.
Let me tell you something, man. People hated that finish, and I think it was the smartest finish they could have possibly done.
Anyone who hated that finish didn't go back and watch it again. They watched it that one time and turned it off and were pissed. But if they go back and watch it in context, I love that match.
Perfect. It was a perfect match.
Like I said, after AJ and Cena, it set the bar so high that a lot of the stuff that came afterwards just seemed terrible. But I went back and watched it, and like Greg said, you watch a lot of those matches after that point, they're really good. And that match couldn't have ended.
Well, I think this match is separate than the others, too, because of who they are and what they're billed to do. And I think looking at it like that, like who is Brock Lesnar and who he's billed to be now in 2016, and Randy Orton, I think that was literally the most perfect thing they could have done. But I'm curious as to what happens next.
And I think that is the reason why people were upset at the end. If anyone is upset at the end, it's because everyone fell into the trap that I always find myself falling in. We write a better story than what we're provided. And so all of us, and that crowd is reflective of it, all of us were sitting there going, who's coming in for the save? And the crowd is chanting Goldberg.
Totally.
Because they think that's coming in for the save.
They should have been, though, the way the WWE teased those two over the last 2 weeks.
And so we're sitting here, and everybody is anticipating Goldberg or some other surprise save, and we don't get it. We get Brock walking out on his own, smiling at the
Shane
camera.
McMahon, you get a Shane run in.
You do get that, but, they blur the lines of the story. We don't know what last night was a work. We don't know what was factual. I mean, we do know that was factual blood. That's a factual gash, and those are factual staples.
And those
we
were
do
factual
know that.
elbows coming crashing down on Randy Orton's lifeless body after he got knocked out.
And we understand that at this point, it was probably that was the plan.
Right.
At least to a certain degree.
To a point, that was the plan, but the way the plan is executed and the way the plan's carried out and some of the things that take place between the start of the plan and the end of it.
Well, let's just say this, though. According to Meltzer, it was the plan for there to be blood. It was the plan for it to end in a TKO. It was a plan for a Shane McMahon run-in. It was not a plan to have that much blood and that much damage caused.
And I'd almost venture to say, we were talking about this a little bit before we even started, I think Brock might have got a little bit carried away because the way people were reacting, Heyman especially, like you never see Heyman break his character.
But also think though, how could they sell that without everyone going all in? How could they sell that, as a shoot, because that's how they wanted that to look, and that's how people took it. If it didn't go, if Heyman didn't sell it, if the announcers didn't sell it, if the refs didn't sell it the way they did, then people would think that it was a work, and they didn't want people thinking that.
The other thing I noticed too, watching back, is there was literal fear, actual fear in the eyes of the medic staff when they're in there trying to work, and Lesnar's still going after him. Like
that I think was the point where even with all the work and the concern and consideration and knowing what they were doing, the times that Brock came back to pummel him, I think Orton was probably pretty out of it. He's bleeding pretty good.
I don't think Lesnar. I think, like I said, I think all of that was planned. I think him coming back and hitting him again was planned. But I don't think he understood
the severity of the situation. And
Brock
I think
Lesnar's
the people around him did.
But maybe Orton was mumbling to him to come in at him. We don't know that. Do you doubt that?
I do.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Well, right, but he's also an actor.
But let's not forget one little thing. Brock Lesnar, UFC champion, former UFC champion, knows when he's got somebody hurt. There's no way you can tell me that, like, he doesn't, after being in both businesses for such a long, he doesn't know when he's hurt someone.
And that's my whole entire point, is that maybe he's not as hurt as he made everyone think he was. He knew he was getting cut open the hard way. He knew he was doing it with an elbow by a 300-pound MMA fighter. He's not going to lay there and look like he's perfectly fine gashing blood.
Which is where I want to make my point that I made immediately last night as soon as we realized that was real blood. Kudos to Randy Orton.
Yeah, he took it like a champ.
That guy he agreed to and executed putting his body on a line in a way that people probably shouldn't, especially in the structure of the concussion era. That they're dealing with.
He's missed a lot of time due to concussions himself.
And so for him going in and taking that the way he did, that's a guy who is putting his body and his future on the line for the sake of the people that are paying to see some entertainment. And regardless of what you think of Randy Orton, man, he not only was it a pretty good match up to that point, but knowing that guy was just sitting in the back, knowing that a killing machine was about to rain down just violence. Was going to
get him the hard way.
Yeah.
And he is taking it. But I mean, even watch, when he was really socking him on the arms in the back until those two elbows. And on those two elbows, who lowered his hands purposely? To let that happen.
Expecting to get hit is one thing. No, expecting to get blasted.
I don't think he lowered them with that anticipation. I think after the first elbow, I think.
Well, yeah, but even before that, I mean, you just look at the way he was. I mean, we're obviously looking so deep into this now.
Yeah,
but for those two elbows that did the damage, and the second one certainly did the damage. But I mean, the way he was defending the arm shots and the back shots, I mean, he lowered his hands to take that blow, and it looked like something both of them knew exactly how they were going to do it.
But after that point, after one of those elbows, not the glancing one, but the one that really connected, Orton's body language and everything changed and became semi-involuntary. Like when he pulled back and you saw that stream of blood for the first time, he was not
Oh, I agree.
And everything that happened post that, all of the dive backs from Brock and all the punches and forearms he was throwing, there wasn't a whole lot of arms up protecting on that. And that's why you've got this, you could see on Brock the blood that he was getting on himself because there was no help really from Orton. And I think those were the moments where Heyman got in the ring. And the match, Heyman doesn't do that a lot. And I think it's probably self-preservation in a lot of instances. But he gets in there, and he's almost breaking character.
Right. But once again, they all have to take it to that level for it to look like a shoot. We agree on that? If it happened, if Randy Orton didn't lie there, you know, like he was literally dead, and if Paul Heyman didn't get in like he was freaking out, like Brock just unleashed himself, you know, then it would look like a work.
No,
Did you watch the video of Randy getting staples in his head?
No, hell no.
He still looked out of it then.
Yeah,
that was 30 minutes after the match.
He's got to. Or it looks
There's no
work.
selling.
This was one of those backstage things where
backstage that's getting shown where.
No, this is one of those things where when you see the guys getting like some of the medical assistance in the past, they've totally broken kayfabe. This was him just not like 1,000-yard stare type thing. But when it comes to Paul Heyman's the guy who, when the streak gets beat, when those things happen where we're now to be led to believe that Brock just did it on his own or whatever, Heyman sells it as, this is my beast, this is my conqueror. He's usually the one who's like off to the side, just shaking his head, covering his mouth, playing to the crowd still. He was actually getting into Brock, saying things to Brock in a way that I don't think we've seen before.
I know, but I'm saying he's got to do that because they wanted everyone to believe that Brock literally did his own thing in that moment.
I think they knew, but I think that what they were trying to get to him is Brock was still following the script.
Well, you know that because he F5'd a grown man that interrupted his match.
But
if he was unleashed, he would have beat the brains out of him.
But I think even at that, I think that we're
all having different. What Greg and I are saying is that like Lesnar knew what the plan was, but when the plan changed,
everyone
he
else
never
was
stopped.
changing the plan. Everyone else was saying, "No, okay, this is worse than we thought. It's time now to stop Brock.
He's had enough," and Brock just kept going.
Well, we're all saying the same thing. I think he kept going for that exact reason.
But I think the Heyman thing, I don't think he was still going on the script. I think Heyman was trying to get to Brock. Stop now. He's really hurt. We need to go.
I'm just telling you guys. We disagree on that then. I don't think Randy Orton was hurt in any way.
Oh, yeah. I
don't think so. I think if he acted
he's
like
not that. Look, I love Randy Orton. He's not that good of an actor. Watch The Marine.
I think that it was all set up to be a work. I think it was all set up.
I think you're both getting worked right now.
That's fine because they're doing a hell of a job, and I love the fact that if I'm getting worked right now, I love the fact that I don't know.
Then you'll never know.
But what I see, well, maybe. I mean, maybe.
Let Heyman get fired.
Yeah,
again.
then we'll know everything.
We'll know everything ever.
But I feel like there was a point where everyone was on the same page, and in the immediate moment of a change, and I'm not saying that Brock intentionally didn't change when everyone else did. I'm just saying that it appeared that everyone else realized the severity of the situation, and Brock didn't recognize and kept going with what the plan was. And I think that was where maybe there was some disconnect.
You guys are getting played, man.
Whatever. I feel good about it at least. I mean, I'm not going into it.
I thought it was great. I liked it.
I think
either way,
great.
It was a great.
Was it a suspension angle?
We'll find out tonight.
Yeah.
It's either a suspension angle or it's setting up Shane versus Brock or Shane's mercenary versus Brock.
Who might be
Sting.
Hell no. I would go to that event and stop him from going to that ring myself.
Well, if it's Goldberg, if that's actually what people are working towards right now, which would kind of make sense because if that game is going to come out in early October,
Beast versus Beast, you know.
But I don't like it. I don't.
You would like that?
I'm not getting excited by that because
what excites you more, him versus Goldberg or him suspended for 6 months?
To be brutally honest, him suspended for 30 days. Because it gets him off TV, it gets him out of the way. It gives room to people who can actually create a better story. Because even if we have him versus Goldberg at, they probably don't do it. What's the next pay-per-view?
For Raw, I don't know.
No clue. Mania?
I mean, the next big one is going to be Survivor Series.
Yeah, that's the next one that would probably be. We don't even know if that's going to be both brands, right?
We don't, but I would assume that the big four are going to remain. So I would think that Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam are going to be co-branded. Maybe you work in a fifth, and I don't know who the fifth is. Money in the Bank. So maybe you have 5 throughout the year that are going to be.
How's Money in the Bank going to work, guys?
Well, last time
Same
they
way
did
as
it, they
before.
had 2 separate ladder matches.
Ah, I hate that.
They had a Raw.
I don't mind that.
Well, for a while there, they had one ladder match, and you could cash in on either show, but people started getting pissed because, well, I was into him working this storyline with him over here, and all of a sudden he's gone just out of nowhere.
I don't mind the 2 ladder match angle. I almost wouldn't even mind, and it would be too confusing to do, but have both briefcases up in one match and have 40 guys in there with 6 ladders. Just let them go to town.
Now you're wanting someone to literally
Wait,
die.
what was that? What was that? The Dusty Rhodes WCW idea where they had the 2
The
rings
double rings,
going
yeah.
on?
Oh,
I love that.
Was that War Games?
I think that was, yeah.
They had a double ring cage match once.
Let's totally do that. Let's go back and do the Dusty Rhodes,
I'm
Money in
down.
the Bank, Intercontinental, International, Universal Champion.
This match will last 3 hours and every belt is on the line. Every belt is hanging from the ceiling.
So this match will last the entirety of the pay-per-view.
R-Truth is the women's champion.
We have
Hey, maybe we should do that instead of a draft next time.
we have all the cases that will come down, and the person who grabs the case will have an opportunity to take on the winner of the belts after the belts drop down. So the belts drop down, everyone gets a shot at it.
Brock Lesnar murders 17 people. Oh my god!
I think we're on to something.
The best tweet I told Greg, the best tweet I saw last night after the main event, easily the best, is some guy tweeted, Brock Lesnar should seal the deal on this and legit murder a fan on his way out of the arena.
It would have been the guy with the "Got Juice" sign too.
Oh,
he would
yeah.
have went right for the Mark Hunt fan.
Randy Orton would have got 4 staples if it wasn't for Brock seeing that sign on his way down.
Oh man.
Well, Heyman told him about Mark Hunt's tweet.
Yeah, that was what it was in the corner when he walked back there. It was.
Golly,
By the way,
man.
check out what Mark Hunt just said.
What?
What?
It's clobbering time, bitches.
That's when the gloves came off.
You know what it was? It was Chris Jericho telling him at Battleground, "You're going to pay for that little comment." He was right.
Jericho once again invented it.
Yep. And of course Jericho. And then Ric Flair was there. All right, I feel like that's enough. We don't need to preview anything for Monday Night Raw because it's
It's going to be nuts.
I just
Whatever
don't-
happens
I don't-
tonight's going to be nuts.
I don't feel like we talked enough about who won the belt at SummerSlam, between us 3.
I think we did plenty.
You won.
I don't think-
Okay, there we go.
All right.
I think we
On
did.
that note,
Okay with
let's
that.
wrap this bitch up.
Yep.
Up,
All
his
right.
mic's off.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and of course on YouTube. It is the Raw Meat Podcast.